Anyway, we did a lot of those, and then we did whatever was popular in the day. And you wanted to know how the acting came in.
Uh-huh.
Well, we sort of acted anyway all the time. And I used to act in radio as well as singing with the family. I would act in soap operas, and there are a lot of soap operas that, you know, in radio, you know this too probably, in radio you could have several people play the same part. When a person left the lead, they would bring in another actor, and nobody would ever know the difference because it would be radio and they couldn't see them anyway, so it was okay. So I was in a lot of shows where I acted. I was Wilma in Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, and I did that show for quite a while.
Buck Rogers in the 25th Century.
And now for Buck Rogers and his thrilling adventures 500 years in the future.
Now I can go ahead. Yes, come in. Oh, hello, Wilma.
Hello, Dr. Hewitt. My, why don't you have more light in here? Coming in from outside, I can hardly see a thing in this spooky greenish glow.
Part of a little experiment I'm conducting.
Oh.
I think they had several Buck Rogers, but the one that was on when I was John Larkin. Maybe some radio buffs remember him. And
you were John's other wife. You were the wife, right?
Well, you know, reporters get things wrong every once in a while. Well, a reporter asked me once what soap operas I was in, and I said, oh, John's Other Wife, and A Brighter Day, and Young Widow Brown. And he put in there, she was John's other wife. I wasn't really. I was just one of the people that came on occasionally on the show. But that's okay. You know, if they make mistakes and you look good in them, you just keep them, right?
The Brighter Day, brought to you by Dreft, America's favorite brand for dishes.
And then in New York, I remember John Golden, the producer, put out an order for girls, ingenues, young girls, to be in his next play. So I thought, why not go try out? And I auditioned, and they were narrowed down to a few from all over the country in New York, and I finally won the contest. So he put me in that show, and it went on during, yes, it was during the war, not the Second World War, the first one. I mean, not the first one, the second one. I get mixed up. Anyway.
It certainly wasn't the Civil War, we know that.
No, thank you. No, it wasn't. Anyway, I was in that show, and I played the part of a pregnant lady for 15 months, and I never gave birth. That was amazing, wasn't it? Anyway, I just go on forever. You better stop me when
you did parts. You did or auditioned for parts as acting as a child and things like that.
You were doing child's voice, children's voices.
Oh yeah, I could do kids' voices because I had a lot of younger sisters, and I would hear them talking, and so I would talk like a child. And I remember I auditioned for Amos and Andy once. They were going to put a little girl on their show who would be Andy's niece, I think. And so I came in and auditioned, and I was a little 5-year-old, and they said, oh, that's great, we'll use it. And then the next day they called up and said, we've decided not to put that character in the show. So I lost out. But anyway, it was fun to work with them in rehearsal a little.
One thing that interests me tremendously is that you were on one of my favorite programs, Gene Autry's show.
Oh, Gene Autry, yeah. Well, that's another case of having somebody as a lead singer, which he had, and I don't even remember her name, but she didn't finish out their 13-week contract. This was out in Hollywood, they were at the time, and she left the show. I don't even remember what her name was, but he took me on. I auditioned, and I became the girl singer for him to fill out the rest of the 13-week contract. And that was fine because I loved doing that, and I sang with all his, Melody Ranch people, and with Gene too, and he was very nice. And then we traveled around and got back to New York after a while.
And you worked with Judy Garland, Bing Crosby, Al Jolson.
Yeah.
All of the stars.
Al Jolson put on a show in Chicago, hoping it would be one they'd try out for Broadway. And he had, not Lily Pons, she was with Andre Castellanos. Who was the girl that danced with Al Jolson? You know her. No, you're too young.
That's the first time anybody's ever said that to me. I'm too young.
You're too young, yeah. Anyway, he tried out the show in Chicago, and my family and I sang in that show, but before it got to New York, we left because we got another job where we got more money. And my mother went up to Al Jolson and she said, Mr. Jolson, you're not paying my children enough. So she took us out of the show, and he brought it to New York, but it was not a success. So we were just as glad we left.
You knew Bing Crosby pretty well, too.
Bing Crosby had a wonderful, he was on one guest show that we were also on, and he was very nice. He came to the rehearsal and he said, people don't all know this, but I'm colorblind. And we were surprised to hear it because we didn't know it either. And he came over to me. Why me? I don't know, but he came to me and he said, my wife, Dixie, that's when he was married to his first wife, he said, she always picks out my clothes for me, but she's out of town. So he said, I had to pick out my own clothes today. He said, I had to pick out my slacks, tie, and shirt. And does it look all right? Honey, he looked terrible. He had the worst looking outfit on.
Did you tell him that?
Nothing matched. The colors didn't go together, and you could understand how he was colorblind. And he said, do I look all right? And I didn't know what to say. So I said, Mr. Crosby, this is radio, and nobody will be able to see you tonight. And they'll just hear your beautiful singing voice. And he smiled and said, thank you.
What a diplomat.
And that was it.